Welcome to the 124th broadcast of the T-ROH show. It's your host, Keith. I got John with me. He's got some rain in the background, folks, so he's going to be in and out just a little bit. You can hear it's pretty loud, so he'll just come in and say what he needs to say and just go ahead and mute back out. So just letting everyone know. All right, what we're going to talk about today is not exactly what you think we're going to talk about today. So let's start out here. This was on the 123rd broadcast of the T-ROH show. I'll do share some documents, and it's just going to be going in a completely different direction than you think it's going. As always, that's how we operate here. All right. Now, in 8 different state constitutions, a social compact is mentioned in the state of and the state of Maryland says that is required in order to form a state. If you have not signed a social compact, you are without obligations and therefore without any rights. So if you don't have any obligations, like I'll just get it to family. If you're not a mother or father, you can't call yourself a mother and father because you have not accepted the obligation of a mother and father because you don't have any children. So you can't say, "Oh, I'm a father," if you don't have any children. So therefore, you have no rights as a father. You haven't accepted that obligation. Okay, so not accepting obligations does not make you free. What it does is it enslaves you because you have no rights. So I just wanted to make that point. If and therefore, okay, no matter how many guru documents you sign, nothing will change and no claim will be honored without a social compact first. You can sit there and sign this declaration, that declaration, blah 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 blah. Your birthright this and inheritance right that. None of that matters. If you don't have a social compact, it, it, it it's just useless. A complete waste of time. So you have to go to the social compact first. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. This is what we've got here. Okay, this is the state of Florida Constitution, Section 1. It's usually under Declaration of Rights. We found 8 of them. That all freemen, when they form a social compact, boom, right there. It's all right there. Here's state of Oregon. When they form a social compact, are equal in right. That's before the Constitution. If you haven't signed a social compact in the state of Oregon that recognizes the Constitution of the state of Oregon, then you do not have a social compact. You're not a part of that state. State of Mississippi, that all freemen, when they form a social compact. And keep in mind, we go, well, great, I'm not a part of that state. Well, then you have no obligations and therefore you have no rights. It's catch-22. So you're going to think, hey, I'm free. I'm not a part of that state. I can prove this in court and that they don't have jurisdiction and all this other stuff. They're going to say, no, you just don't have any rights because you haven't accepted any obligations. So we're going to stick you with some debt and all that kind of stuff, throw you in jail for a while, all that kind of thing, because there's nothing stopping them because you haven't signed a social compact. You're essentially a slave. That's the way it works. So there's no getting out of signing a social compact. These are in the state constitutions, by the way. And here's the links. And they'll say, well, Keith, where are those documents? Because we're going to get that email. We always do. It's in the 123rd broadcast of the T-ROH show. Right here. 123rd broadcast. You go to home, click this. And then here's where it all comes from. Social compact, law of nations, privacy, and social contract. Here's all the links. You just click this link here. It opens up to here. All right. All men, when they form a social compact, are equal. No grant. Same wording. State of Kentucky. State of Connecticut. All men, when they form a social compact. State of Maryland. This one was interesting. That all government of right originates from the people, is founded in compact only. That's an exclusive. At least they're the ones that recognized and understood it. Okay, now, state of Virginia. Okay, that all men by nature equally free and independent have certain inherent rights of which, when they enter into a state of society, they cannot by any compact deprive any or divest of their posterity, namely enjoyment of life and liberty, with the means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. That's the state of Virginia. Most, if not all, states have the same wording. They just did not place the word social compact in the writing or took it out. They all says all men are by nature free and equal. All men by nature equally free. It's the same type of wording. So basically, they took the word social compact out in the rest of the states, especially the ones where the United States was involved and actually listed in their constitution. Even though the specific wording was removed, it does not mean it is not required in order to accept the obligation which gives a right. If you do not form a social compact, you have no society to form a state and then a government for that state. No social compact means statelessness. And here, you don't have to listen to us. Here's Justice Chase wrote, for the purpose for which men enter into society will determine the nature and terms of the social compact. And as they are the foundation of legislative power, they will decide what are the proper objects of it. The nature and ends of legislative power will limit the exercise of it. An act of the legislature, for I cannot call it a law. It's not a law. Contrary to the great first principles of the social compact, cannot be considered a rightful exercise of legislative authority. So what does that mean? That means all the states that are sitting there today, they can't pass a law. So what did they do? They called it a policy and incorporated everything so that only a few would run it and the rest would be slaves. That's the absence of a social compact is the existence of slavery. Justice Chase's position seems clear. The social compact or contract empowers the legislature to enact certain varieties of legislation. Legislation outside the power granted under the contract is without any authority whatsoever. Without any authority whatsoever. Zero. So, that's a message to the police. You guys are out there under your own specific and personal liability doing what you're doing. You don't have a state because nobody signed a social compact to create that state. So you took an oath to uphold or to enforce statutes that do not exist under any authority whatsoever. You're just subjecting the people. You're involved in slavery. That's how this works. And they did this on purpose so that eventually it would collapse. It must be conceded that there are rights in every free government beyond the control of the state. There are limitations on the power which grow out of the essential nature of all free governments, implied reservations and individual rights without which the social compact could not exist, and which are respected by all governments entitled to the name. 2 years later, he said the same thing. A body politic is a social compact by which a whole people covenants with each citizen, and each citizen with the whole people, and that all shall be governed by certain laws for the common good. It does not confer power upon the whole people to control the rights or control rights which are purely and exclusively private. While the Constitution may in certain contain aspects of a social contract, if the social contract is to be entirely contained in a constitution, it will be only in what has been referred to as the unwritten constitution. And there you go. In other words, it doesn't exist. The United States Constitution might be viewed as an embodiment of a social contract, but it is not a contract between each individual and the sovereign or among all individuals. There you go. No one's a part of it. If you have not signed a social contract, you are not a part of that Constitution, nor any state constitution, which means you have zero rights. You can't even call yourself a citizen. You're stateless. While the framers of the Constitution have been affected by social contract theory, the Constitution is not itself the social contract. The social contract is not the contract among the branches of the sovereign government or between sovereigns, the states and the federal government. The social contract is among the people or between the people and the sovereign. And none of that exists. Which means what? Oh, there's a social compact between the people for the government of the United States of America and the government of the United States of America, which means the government of the United States of America is the only government in existence in this country. Along with, now, from that government are 15 national governments within the states.
That also applies to all the nations in the world too.
That's right.
They got sovereigns, but they have no citizens.
Which means their New World Order is based on pure totalitarian dictatorships all over the world. No social compact means no authority and consent of the governed cannot be given, and therefore all that is left is slavery perpetrated against those that become subjects of an unauthorized legislature. A social compact is the speech of the people. If the speech of the people is absent, there is no society formed, no state can exist, no government, and no country. If the people are not willing to stand up and limit the runaway state legislatures with a present time social compact, then there is nothing more to say. Your guns will be gone. The socialists will run your businesses, your life, and own your property. Private property rights will not exist. As always, the choice is yours. That should have been written. Private property rights do not exist. But we have to translate to people that believe they have private property rights today. You're living in a dream world, folks. Nothing that you see is real. Because you've completely ignored the law of nations. And not even really, most of you didn't even know it existed. So you can download it here. Law of Nations. Start reading it. Rousseau, same guy that wrote that, also came up with the social compact download. He starts specifically talking about it. And then this is a defense of judicial activism. This is a lawyer's firm that wrote this. And then here's the link on Just Evidence. We only found the social compact in 8 of the constitutions in the whole country. But the very simple fact that there's more than 2, it exists. It exists. Okay, now we're going to move forward with what you have today. And that would be this here. These are IRC 527 political organizations. It says until 1975, the code did not specifically address the tax status of political organizations, such as political parties, campaign committees, and political action committees. PACs. I'm sure a lot of people have heard PACs. Okay. Essentially, folks, what your political organizations are today, which is the Republican and Democratic Party, known as that, they're private companies running policies. And none of you are a party to them. You can claim to be a voter there, but it doesn't really matter. They have the Electoral College, and they also have the FEC. And they have to report to that organization. So, who's the real power there, right? Or if you got to report, there's the real power. However, here's the problem. For some reason in the policies, their signatures and their votes matter on those 2 political parties. They call themselves political parties, but they're private companies. Okay? And they do, in fact, influence your life. If you haven't signed a social compact and created your own political party through that social compact, you really have no defense against them because they both equally embark in slavery with the Communist and Socialist Party. They both do that. They're both equally guilty. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint on what goes on in Washington. Whenever there's a law that comes up, there's a committee that comes in, and that committee will sit on a bill, they call it. I'm just translating for you so you get what's going on so everybody knows what we're talking about here. Because they're used to saying, the school rock, I'm just a bill, and I say here on Capitol Hill. So everybody knows about that when they were young. They were indoctrinated with that song. And it sits there in committee. All right. And they sit there and told you exactly what they do. And this is what happens. They have all private trusts. You ever notice Pelosi is worth $190 million, but only gets about, three or $400,000 a year? It's amazing, isn't it? That she can actually do that. How is it that that woman can get that much money, okay, and be worth $190 million when she only got so much per year? And she goes, oh, well, those are investments. Well, of course. When you get insider knowledge that a certain stock is going to go up if this particular statute's passed. And since you're writing the policies, you can exempt yourself from insider trading laws and exempt your company for insider trading laws because it's so-called a political party in in quotations. And since people don't have a social compact to stop it, they can do it anyways. Now, you know why it's runaway? They can stop it anytime. No one can stop it because you don't have a social compact to stop it. You haven't signed one. If you have no obligations of the social compact, you have no political rights. And that's the way it works. So, that being the case, what you have to do here is realize that every time a statute is passed, and I'll give you a perfect example, and this is going to be uh, uh, something that everybody can relate to because it's directly affecting your life. You have a driver's license, registration, insurance. You're sitting there on the side of the road, and the first thing cop says is, give me a driver's license, registration, insurance. If you don't have either one of those, you're screwed, right? You're going to jail. Now, how'd that happen? Well, first of all, driver's licenses were voluntary, and insurance was voluntary, and registration was voluntary. Not 40, 50 years ago. However, as the days go by, and as the months and years go by, they slowly move it to where, okay, we have this huge problem here. And they have the media, okay? People are getting hit, and then the drivers are taken off. Well, that law's already been in place. And there's no insurance to cover anybody to recover damages. So what do? They go and invest in all the insurance companies, and then they pass a policy that says that everybody has to have insurance. Otherwise, it's a fine. Then a couple years later, it's if you don't have insurance, you go to jail. Now the stocks in that insurance company go way up because now it's a monopoly. It doesn't matter if it violates any antitrust laws because they're exempt from that, right? They can exempt themselves from those antitrust laws. And they can come back and say, I tell you what, we're just going to exempt ourselves from any laws that are passed. Everybody else is subject to it. We're not. Now, how come they could do that? How can they do that? You don't have a social compact in place to stop it because you're not the authority for their organization. So they turn into mere private citizens. And they're just bullying you around. And these mere private citizens where a social compact has never been signed, are opening borders, because those people that are coming in, remember, they've got stocks in the prisons, so they want criminals to come in to put them in prison so that they can make more money and sell them more Bob Barker soap, and they can keep them in debt forever. You see, folks, this whole border thing is based on a couple of things. What the UN wants, along with these private companies, they want adrenochrome. Number one, that's why they're bringing children over for the sex trafficking, and they want assassins. See, children over in Mexico, when they're when they're young, by the time they're 11, 12 years old, they'll kill somebody for a couple $100. So they have control of a whole freaking internal civilian army. That's what's going on. They want adrenochrome, which is the blood of the children. So they torture them, and then the adrenaline in the blood goes in there. They drink that blood, they get high, and it's great for blackmail. Same with child sex trafficking. It's great for blackmail. It's an amazing thing that they do. That's why they want open borders. Same thing happened in Europe. All the young under 18 Muslims that came across the border, they sold them. It's very well known over in Europe, and the Catholic Church was involved in it. They were grabbing all the young ones and then selling them in sex trafficking, in the sex trade. That's all this is about. It's sick. Yes, it's just extremely sick. But you don't have a social compact to stop it, because you have no obligations and you have no rights. So you're going to sit there with absolutely nothing, and you have to watch it. And that's called torture within itself. You have to sit and watch, because that's all you can do. And you can sit there and go to rallies with Trump all you want. He hasn't stopped a thing. He has not stopped one bit of it from going on. He hasn't stopped abortions from happening, murders of, over 60 million children. He hasn't stopped a thing. All he's done is been attacked and came back as the hero. Has it made any changes whatsoever? The government of the United States of America has made many changes. We haven't been able to stop that, because that is some very dark stuff. Meaning, we haven't been able to stop the adrenochrome, because we can't get the people to wake the hell up and start taking responsibility and obligations, so that you have some rights to fix it. So we put a T-ROH show together, and over the last 123 broadcasts of the T-ROH show, a lot of people have been woken up, but not enough. People that are watching that movie Unplanned in Michigan, the second they watched that movie, they went in there in droves and knocked Planned Parenthood the hell out of there. They got rid of their lease. Planned Parenthood has 90 days to leave. That was a story we saw yesterday. You can go look it up. Planned Parenthood got 90 days to leave. Go look it up on the internet. You'll find it. It's in Michigan. But they were only talking to 3 commissioners. But they didn't want a riot on their hands. And that was a mob that stopped it. It wasn't people that had the legal right to. They have no social compact that created that commission to make the decision. But there was a mob there. So basically what you have in America is a mob rule. Enough people get behind it and start doing it, that it stops. That's a mob. You didn't have the legal right to do it. You didn't have the lawful right to do it. They just did it because we don't want people, tearing up our houses and stuff, because this will get out of control. And they know it. They know you don't have a social compact. If you think that the higher people within their organizations know what a social compact is, or that don't know, yeah, well, go ahead and make yourself believe that. However, the North American National Party is an actual party that was created by a social compact. The North American National Party, in its originality, when it first started, it started off a bunch of branches, and those branches reached to 50. So we have North American National Party 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, goes all the way down. Matter of fact, I'll show you. Okay, here we go. Here's the levels. Okay, state level members. State of Alaska is chapter 3, 4. There are more national members, by the way. They're just not there listed there. Those would be general postmasters. And we have all these different chapters. These are all autonomous chapters within their states. They have their own elections, they have their own everything. Okay, so there are your chapters there. Now, these were all created by Social Compact. Some people only have one, some have 18, some 11, and all that. It goes all the way around. Not everybody that has come in through the state resident declarations have joined the North American National Party or their chapter. We have a whole lot more than that you're saying there, that you're seeing there. Okay, just none of them. You know, a lot of people are not political, so they don't do this. However, I think they're going to become very political very quickly once we show them this. All right, right here is the the reignoftheheavens.com, and it's international bills with outstanding balance. I'm going to stop this and then redo it, make sure that everybody sees it. All right, now listen to this: international bills with outstanding balance. And we're going to show you what this means. All claims are under an international trust fund known as the International Trust Fund number, and it goes all the way through. For the purpose of publishing bills for property damages, public or private, personal injury, and excessive resource costs against international political and or religious groups. The trustee of the International Trust Fund is hereby the government of the United States of America. Now, how is this valid? Oh, geez, came from a social compact. That's how it's valid. The beneficiaries of all claims are the damaged parties, whether or not a direct claim has been made by the damaged party. Therefore, the damaged party is under no danger of retaliation. All damage assessments are made by the trustee of the International Trust Fund without exception. All damages are assessed with this link. The Continental Dollar and the Continental Dollar LB, if found within the Internal Revenue Trust, is defined as a foreign functional currency and a qualified business unit with a foreign and separate set of books and records, and shall include books of original entry and ledger accounts. So basically, if there's any kind of claim in Continental Dollars or Continental Dollar LB, labor backed, in that jurisdiction, it'll be considered a qualified business unit. We didn't write that, they did. It's right here. I'll show you in a minute. All claims are made by any publication within any media outlet, whether public or private. All media outlets are considered third-party beneficiaries without any guarantee of damage claims. Okay, you can look up third-party beneficiaries. That's a whole other aspect of that, and we don't have time to go through it here. This is published by the Committee of the National Assembly for the Government of the United States of America. It's 4/16/2019. The following international entities have international bills with an outstanding balance for damages perpetrated against beneficiaries of the international bill. Okay, as you can see, this has just started, so you're not going to see any. This is where we came up with the Committee of the National Assembly expands the definition of the Continental Dollar. Right after we did this, within one day, DDoS attacks started hitting the Continental Public Bank. It went on for almost 18 hours. We finally had to block all the countries that that they were coming from, because they were moving every 5 seconds. Every 5 seconds, they were moving from one country to another, hitting it with Google bots, hitting it, and then eventually using up all the resources and trying to shut the website down. That went on for a very long time. We sat and blocked IP addresses from 12 o'clock in the afternoon till about 1 o'clock in the morning. Took a little break, of course, to go eat. Came back, had to keep doing it again. It went on and on and on. And we finally had to just block all the countries, which knocked out a couple of the people that hold bank accounts there. But we put them on a white list so they can open up their accounts from that country. Okay, so that's what happened. Right after this, that's what happened. So the 527 organizations were hard at work. That those Republican and Democratic parties. The Committee of the National Assembly for the Government of the United States of America hereby expands the definition. So the Continental Dollar and the Continental Dollar LB is hereby also defined as a functional currency of the government of the United States of America within the metes and bounds and seaward boundaries of the United States of America. The Continental Dollar and the Continental Dollar LB, if found within the Internal Revenue Trust, is defined as a foreign functional currency and a qualified business unit with a foreign and separate set of books and records and shall include books of original entry and ledger accounts. This is, in fact, in that trust. Those words do exist within that trust. It's when they're dealing with foreign currencies. These expanded definitions allow any foreign agency to pay its taxes with the Continental Dollar and Continental Dollar LB without trespass on a foreign functional currency and a qualified business unit. Now, therefore, the foreign public policy order can now be obeyed without conflict. And that is the definition of HJR 196. See, we still have to deal with that company because it's still a company.
There's 192.
Hold on. So correction, HJR 192, not 196. So that was my fault. All right. So it does expand this stuff. Most people have believed themselves into looking at HJR 192 as a way to sign over a coupon that they get from a bank or they get from a company. They turn it over on the back and they sign it and they think that's a coupon to pay the bill. It goes on for about 2 or 3 years and then they get busted for it. That's usually what happens. However, you better vote Democrat if you're going to do that. Because you know how they are. They've even expanded their policies to say, oh, well, I'll tell you what, illegals can go ahead and vote in our party. And they've done it all over the country. That's a runaway situation. However, there's a lot of power in political power. Now, what does this mean over here? The international bills. Okay, now, whenever we have an issue with, and this usually happens with the people that just come here because they got a lot of baggage. There's crap that they've done, like secured party creditor. Okay, and so if you ever think about it, folks, what does the UCC have to do with a nationality? It has absolutely nothing to do with the nationality. There's no correlation between the two. So if somebody's telling you, oh, well, you can be a secured party creditor, not a social compact, by the way. You can be a secured party creditor and you file your UCC and now you have American national status. Complete and utter lie. That's complete BS. None of that exists. There's no correlation between the Uniform Commercial Code and the nationality. There's no connection there. There's no chain of title there. Nothing. Doesn't exist. Okay? So, whenever you have somebody within the North American National Party that gets messed with by the locals, state, federal companies, well, guess what? People normally go after cops and judges for liens and all this other kind of stuff. So you know what the company parties did? They passed a law that says it's a felony to lien a cop and a judge. You know what? In essence, they're right because they're not the responsible party. Remember, I told you that the so-called policy they voted for was going to fill their pockets from the private trusts that buy the stocks in the companies that policy is about to affect and make those stocks go way up. I give you, for instance, the Clintons, when they first got into office, they started saying they were going to push socialized medicine, and all of the stocks went way down. And then, who was the biggest investor in pharmaceuticals at the time? Oh, that'd be the Clintons, by the way. And 30 days later, they came back and said, "Oh, well, that's not going to work. The socialized medicine is not going to work." Then the stock goes way back up. Now you have a very small investment that just turned into an extremely large investment. That's how they do that, and they do this all the time. Now, those statutes and or acts or whatever you want to call them, policies, are not there to protect you. They don't care about you. They're just there to make sure the stock market goes way up in certain stocks that they invest in. However, that little game they play with the stock market affects everybody's life, because you have police officers down there and sheriffs down there that says, "Well, I took an oath to enforce state law." Okay? They took an oath to enforce it. Well, guys, they're enforcing something that made the politicians rich, credit rich, I call it, or just, because they just get credits is all they're getting. And he's putting his life on the line for that. So go ahead. You can do that all you want. I'll tell you what, we're not going to mess with you because you got an oath, right? You got an oath to protect the politician and his portfolio. So we're not going to mess with that because it's very difficult to deal with somebody that believes what they're doing is right and is being trained to shut you off and anything you say as trying to influence them. Okay, they're being trained to do that. So you can't deal with that. What you can deal with is, I don't know, maybe a bill from the North American National Party that goes against the Republican and Democratic Party. And eventually that bill, because I know you're going to, and we all know you're going to ignore it because you don't pay your bills now, turns into a lien later on against your parties, your 527 organizations, which eventually becomes a liability and clouds the title. Does everybody get the idea? So from this day forward, any North American National Party member that gets subjected to your non-social compact crap under state legislature crap that doesn't exist, and we just showed you it didn't exist, is going to get a bill because it cost us money for the truth to get up your freaking ladder because your lower ones have no clue what's going on to finally let them go. And it cost us money and time. And we're getting a little tired of that. We're not going to pay your bills anymore. So this is a notice to the Democratic and Republican parties. Anybody that is a part of a North American National Party and any of the chapters, if you try to subject them to your bullshit, because we know it's all bullshit, you're getting a bill. A real bill. Not this fake crap UCC1 BS. You're getting a real bill. You don't pay that bill to the North American National Party in that chapter, who's going to be the beneficiary of it, you're going to get a lien on your ass, which now goes against all of your private property until you get the freaking idea that all of you are not kings and queens to go around and lie to everybody because your whole existence is based on a lie. If the people knew who you were, you wouldn't exist. If the people understood that you don't have a social compact that created your stupid ass organizations, you wouldn't exist. And the United Nations is not exempt from a bill, because we know that the Republican and Democratic Party are the ones that are opening up this border and are the ones that are supporting the United Nations, and they are the ones doing all this. And you're throwing the Democrats under the bus, and the Republicans are the ones doing it also. To do what? To fill your pockets in the stock market. Because these people have a couple of different ways to go. They can either become adrenochrome victims, they can become criminals, which go into your jails, of which all of you have stocks in because they're all private detention centers, and they're filling your pockets. So having that border open is actually filling your pockets. It costs more to stop it. And you're coming up with the dumbest ass freaking policies I've ever seen just to grab more money. On top of more money. On top of it, on top of that, and on top of that. So, rest easy for anybody was part of the North American National Party. Don't yell at the cop. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Don't yell at the judge. He doesn't know what he's doing on a local level and on a state level. They have no idea. They know about the stock market thing, I can tell you that, which does hold them liable for that crap. But what they're trying to do is sell bonds. They just want to sell bonds so they can get their piece. That's all it's about money. However, the political parties that created the policy, you're the responsible party. You're the ones doing all this. So if our American National Union goes through the vehicle registration, licensing, and bonding, and by the way, their licensing is much more stringent than yours, and they get messed with by a cop, no problem. The Democrat and Republican Party are going to get the bill within that state against from the North American National Party, a real political party that was created by a social compact. The only way you're going to get out of this is you got to come to peace with the North American National Party. You're going to make a deal with the North American National Party to leave those people the hell alone. Those people that are members of the North American National Party. We had an issue here on the web servers, and we said it's the last thing, and I'll go ahead and end it. Massive censorship of the T-ROH show. Now, what did they censor? They didn't actually censor the show itself. They censored the results of the show. How many people were actually watching the show? And they did that through Jetpack, because that's a Jetpack number there. Okay, it comes from the bottom here. It's right here, the stats. This came from Jetpack. So they made the show look like it was only getting about 2,000 or 3,000 hits a month, or maybe a week, something like that. But actually, under the stats alone for March alone for the T-ROH show, which I didn't know this actually existed at the time. I didn't know that we could actually do the analog stats. Okay, 29,305,227 hits on the show. That beats CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, all combined.
And that was just the month of March this year too, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was just in March. That beat it all combined. I believe that even beat Alex Jones. So, what we would like to do is extend your thanks for watching the show. Anybody, those naysayers that think, oh, well, they're just a fraud, they're just lying, it's right here. Web server statistics for the T-ROH show. We can't. This is a picture. This is a screenshot. We can't mess with these numbers. We can't make them move or turn around. They're not editable. Okay. Now, we even freaked out a little bit. I was like, what, is that right? Holy crap. Okay. But we went down and looked at the data transferred. It's 99.51 terabytes So 1,000 gig is a terabyte, 1,000 gigabytes. That's how much data was transferred. So no, they're actual hits. So this little website, the T-ROH Show, got 29 million views in the month of March. So what's the message today? Understand, folks, that when you sign a social compact within the United States of America, that gives you your political rights. Political rights and political power is the most powerful thing you can have that a human being can possess. It's not a nuclear weapon, it's political power that drives and controls the nuclear weapon. And what you're seeing in the country today simply does not exist, even legally or under law. It doesn't exist. There's nothing there. So how do you do this? Okay, you go over and you sign a resident declaration. You can go to the United States of America 1781.com. Doesn't mean it's in the name. We were just specifying the year. Okay, so just realize that. If anybody ever says, I went over to 1781, that's not the name of it. It's the government of the United States of America. That's it. Or the United States of America. We put 1781 there because we have to deal with the ignorance of people thinking that we have something to do with the Constitution. And believe me, they are ignorant and they keep coming back and they think that we're under some BS that they do. And it takes them a while to figure out, oh, holy crap, they're not even a part of us. It just takes them a while to figure it out. So we have to deal with their verbal abuse until they figure it out, that they're in the wrong place and they're trespassing all over a social compact. But we're just happen to be really very nice and we understand ignorance. And we let them rant and rave until they figure it out. Then what do? Once they figure it out, they do a resident declaration. So go to the United States of America 1781.com, go to the naturalization section, government services. All you have to do is a resident declaration. You can join one of the chapters. Okay, do a resident declaration, sign a social compact, because once you get to the political chapter, they're going to tell you go sign a social compact. The social compact, they'll show you where it is. Okay, it's actually at the United States of America 1781.com/DOT. It's at our Department of Transportation. You can sign the bilateral social compact. Next week, what we're going to be covering is some of these states are changing their social compacts, and they're going to give the companies that are sitting there in the state, their creature states within a state, a chance to go do the right thing. They're going to send it to those people. If they decide that they're not going to honor any type of social compact, which their arrogant asses normally do because they have so much power, and they can't make any money on the stock market, so what's the point of even being in office if you can't make millions in it? By subjecting people, their slaves, to obligations that are not theirs, then they're going to become foreign to the state that they profess that they reside in. And how is that? It's because the social compact is the answer to what everybody's been looking for. And this is well-established law for hundreds of years. And if they want to keep it up, oh, I know, they'll just get another bill. And QBUs, qualified business units. But which, by the way, they can't shuck and jive and say they don't recognize. Thanks for listening to the 124th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. Please pass this around to as many people as you can and let them know that there is hope. There's hope out there, and there's ways to do this. And people in other countries, where do you guys start? You start out with a social compact. If you want to go over to the United States of America 1781.com/DOT, look at that bilateral social compact. You are welcome to copy it and put it within your country and at least start there. because we know there are people all over the world listening to this. You're welcome to do that. Even the people in the monarchy governments. If your monarch, okay, that claims to be a monarch, does not have a social compact with his people written, he's not a monarch, or she's not a monarch. They don't. It doesn't exist. If the English people in England have not signed a social compact with their monarch, giving that monarch the authority to be a monarch with a contract between the sovereign and the people, guess what? Elizabeth is not a sovereign. She's been bamboozling you. That means everything that she's ever done doesn't exist. And whatever social compact or compact agreement she made with the Catholic Church doesn't exist, because social compacts do not exist between sovereigns. They only exist between the people and the sovereign. That's the beauty of the law of nations, because it deals with a republic and it also deals with a monarchy all at the same time. So thanks for listening to the 124th broadcast of the T-ROH Show. We do appreciate everybody watching the program, and we'll do our best to keep the content as helpful as possible. Thanks for listening.